Okay, these were the people who were at Woodstock, by the way. They were the ones at Woodstock getting high and sleeping with anything that would be interested in sleeping with them. Guys, that's what happened during Woodstock. Woodstock wasn't this fantastic, amazing Renaissance period. All right, it was a shameful, debauched incident.
CrossroadsIRL.com.
Now, Democrats want to make it sound like Donald Trump is bringing up new policies that have never been used before. They're unconstitutional. They're wrong. He's a racist and a bigot for doing that. Meanwhile, not too long ago, they were the ones pushing this. Have a listen.
Members of this committee, please turn your attention to the video screens.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens. In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace as recommended by the commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our...
Members of this committee, please turn your attention.
All right, so we're going. So it flipped over. This is Bill Clinton. Was Bill Clinton Democrat or Republican? Let me know in the comment section or in the chat. Was he Democrat or Republican? These are the exact same talking points that you hear from Donald Trump and most of the Republican Party. What on earth happened to the Democrat Party? Why did the Democrat Party suddenly become an America-hating, lawless political party that runs cover for illegal immigrants and criminals? How come they became that party? I guess we all know the answer, and that is they embraced socialists and communists who want to destroy America. That's basically what happened. Because there's no how a political party can transform from the political party led by Bill Clinton, who said all of these things, to the political party that we see today that's organizing and backing the No Kings protest. And we're going to get to that. We're going to go through some footage. We're going to talk about a few things. Now, I wanted to play this because when you watch the disagreements and the vitriol, yeah, Clinton is a Democrat. Of course, it's not hard to see that there's a lot of hypocrisy there. Now, again, my question, is it hypocrisy or is it just that the party was hijacked by socialists? It's strange to see what's happened to the Democrat Party. Now, the next video or next thing that I want us to look at is this write-up. Now, I'm not American, but I represent the sentiments of many people who are not citizens of the United States, but respect the history of the United States and wish that that could have been the history of our own countries. These are quotes by the founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Alexander Hamilton. We're going to read through this, but this post is from C Reason, and he says, I'm sick and tired of being called or considered a democracy. This just tells you how ignorant and truly uneducated the media and many politicians are. I don't think that they are uneducated. I think that it's an intentional strategy to rewrite history in real time. They accuse conservatives of rewriting history, but they're the ones who do it best. In fact, they're the ones who invented the whole idea of rewriting history. For example, the Democrat Party was a party that was heavily supported by the KKK. The Democrat Party was a party that pushed against abolition of slavery. The Democrat Party was a party that championed the Civil War. Why? Because they wanted to keep their slaves. The Democrat Party pushed against legislation to remove segregation in the Jim Crow South. How come we don't hear that today? My question also, now this is one thing that makes me question the Republican Party as well. How come the Republican Party doesn't say this at all? I didn't find this out from the Republican Party or from any of their candidates. I found it out from doing my own research. So how come it's never said? America is a constitutional republic. That is how the founding fathers made this country. Now let's read these statements by the founding fathers. Thomas Jefferson said, "A democracy is nothing more than mob rule, where 51% of the people may take away the rights of the other 49. These are the sentiments of the founding fathers. John Adams said, "Remember, democracy never lasts long. It soon wastes, exhausts, and murders itself. There never was a democracy yet that did not commit suicide." This was John Quincy Adams. Benjamin Franklin, "Democracy is two wolves and a lamb voting on what to have for lunch. Liberty is a well-armed lamb contesting the vote." This is Benjamin Franklin. I like to bring up these things because whenever I, an immigrant, am speaking on these issues, I have strange Americans, if I can consider them Americans. Now, there's a quote in the Bible by the Apostle Paul. He said that there are those who are Israelites, but they are not really of Israel. And I think that we can use that for the United States. There are those who claim to be Americans, but they are not Americans. Because being American, I think, doesn't just mean being born in the United States of America. It means carrying the spirit of freedom that America has represented for hundreds of years. So that's something that we need to begin to insist on. If I hear a politician talk in a way that is anti-American, I'll say, this guy is not American. He may carry a blue passport, but he's not American. Alexander Hamilton said, "We are a Republican government. Real liberty is never found in despotism or in the extremes of democracy." When you hear Democrats saying, "We're trying to defend our democracy, we are a democracy," they are going hard against the wishes of the founding fathers. They've tried to smear the founding fathers in order to discredit them, to say these were slave owners and therefore whatever they have to say doesn't matter. They try to do all of that in order to rewrite history. And we have to be wiser than that. Now, No King's protest was very interesting, but they don't want you to remember that there's this article that was published by CNN on June 8th, 2012. It was titled, "Liberals Want Obama to be a king, not a president." For liberals, it's okay when their candidate acts like a king. And that's basically what Obama did in some cases. And even Joe Biden had some of those tendencies with the draconian rules on the vaccinations and trying to make sure that people were forced to take the vaccines. Else, they gave the corporations carte blanche to be able to fire people if they didn't take the vaccines. They laid off service members who refused to take the vaccines. Is that constitutional, or was that the action of a king? CNN said liberals want Obama to be a king, not a president. Why? Because liberals kept complaining about how Obama was hamstrung by constitutional safeguards that was that was Congress. Congress wouldn't let him do certain things, and they wanted him to be able to go as far as he needed to go, but he couldn't because of Congress, and they wanted him to be able to overrule Congress. I remember one video that I saw of Obama. I think he was talking. What was it? The State of the Union. He was talking about some amendments, or I think it was Obamacare or something. There were a bunch of things that he was trying to push. And he was saying that if Congress doesn't do this, he'll veto it. And he kept using that statement. I didn't understand much of what was going on there. And now that I look back, I'm like, okay, this guy was essentially bragging that he would use his presidential powers to the fullest extent if Congress stood in his way. That's what the liberals support. But when it comes to a Republican president who really loves his country and wants to do the best thing for his country, they're like, you're a king. He's using the Constitution. If Trump was a king, that protest would never have happened. All right. Now let me know in the comments. I'm going to at a point in the show, as you can see on my browser, you can see a section that says comments. We're going to go through the comments. You're going to see some of the most outlandish comments out there. They're really outlandish, and you're also going to see some really common sense comments. I want to thank you guys who went into the comment section and made your voices heard. I appreciate it, and I thank you so much for it. I would love for more comments and engagement in the live chat, because it will enrich the show and help us to actually bring out the best in our conversations. All right, so this is why you homeschool your kids, Planet of Memes says, and why Charlie Kirk said college was a scam. Let's listen to this individual before we start looking at how, now I'm having an internal conflict, and I think what I want to do first is to cover the story on the potential attempt on President Trump's life. I'll just get that out of the way, because it's a very short story. We can go through it, talk about our thoughts, and then move on. But one of the things that I wanted to lead into was the fact that there's a lot of violent rhetoric coming from the left. The left is saying all these things. Last week, we saw Chuck Schumer calling for people to violently resist President Trump. And then a few days later, you have a hunting perch conveniently in the line of sight, within the line of sight of Air Force One, where Air Force One is meant to park. Now, you might say, well, the hunting perch was for a hunter in the middle of Florida. There's no hunting happening within the city. So how do you defend that? And then we hear the narrative, oh, there's violent rhetoric on both sides. The GOP has to tone down the rhetoric. They are the ones who are ramping up the rhetoric, not the GOP. I listen to the GOP. I listen to the Democrats. The Democrats are the ones who are calling for violence. You have their lackeys in the media calling for people to rise up and arm themselves. Oh, we're going to see some of that footage today, and we're going to talk about it. All right, there's tons to talk about, and we may not go through all of the content that I have lined up for today, because there's just so much. And whenever I see this stuff, one of the things that gets at me and that bothers me is injustice. And the true meaning of injustice is an imbalance in the scales. Okay, and that's why the representation of justice, especially in the American justice system and in most countries, is a blindfolded woman holding a scale and a sword, right? She doesn't consider personalities. She doesn't take sides. She is blind to all of those things. Justice has to be blind. Justice should have no favoritism. But when I see favoritism playing out in public, on the news, on the internet, it gets me stirred up. I really want to be very measured with my reviews, and I will try. But many times when I see obscene transgressions of the law and of common sense, it gets me stirred up. I don't know if you're like me, but it does. It gets me stirred up, and I'm like, I hope I'm being very balanced in my take, because if I get too heated up, I might not be as balanced as I should be. So this is an educator during the No Kings protest, and let's listen to her take, right, on this whole idea of no kings.
My first name is Victoria. I live in Havertown, Pennsylvania. I'm out here today protesting because I'm an American historian. I've been teaching American history for 40 years.
She's a historian. Let's go.
My entire life thinking about America, and I'm watching it go down, and I am terrified. Also, I have 3 grandchildren, and I'm out here for them. As a professor of American history, I taught immigration history, I taught women's history, I taught African American history, not to mention just mainstream modern history. And I know that in every single one of those areas, this government is trying to wipe out all of the research, all of the knowledge that we have gained in the last 40 years, so that we know.
These are accusations, and I honestly don't believe her, because I've been the same historical references that I've known since the 80s are still around, and they are still being referenced by some of the candidates in the Republican Party. So what does she mean by that? You know, when people lead with "I'm a historian," "I'm a veteran," or "being a veteran," or "being a black veteran," and they try to put out credentials to say, here's my credentials, trust me, bro, everything I'm about to tell you is true. And she leads with that. I've been teaching history for over 40 years. And so everything else that you're trying to make us believe is a lie. How is the government trying to wipe out all of history? Can she tell us how? All right, I'll be interested to watch her podcast to learn how the government is magically erasing 1,000 years of history and, honestly, human common sense.
Know more about immigrants and women and African Americans, and they're just trying to wipe it out, erase it. Too much work has been done, and it's too important for our democracy. So that's why I'm here.
So how are they wiping out knowledge on immigrants and women? These are the people who have hijacked the educational system. People like her, people like her, people like her. I'm going to just kind of emphasize it. There is no rational evidence, no rational argument, just accusations and conflations. So she's the front runner. These are now why did I say that the No Kings protest was a flop? First of all, the representation of people during the No Kings protest was made up of people like her, old, weak, people who possibly were trying to relive the revolutions or the turbulence of the late 60s and early 70s. Okay, these were the people who were at Woodstock, by the way. They were the ones at Woodstock getting high and sleeping with anything that would be interested in sleeping with them. Guys, that's what happened during Woodstock. Woodstock wasn't this fantastic, amazing Renaissance period. All right, it was a shameful, debauched incident. We'll call it what it is. The young people then were told that was the way to fight against the authoritarian global exertion of power, and they were fighting against the United States push into war in Vietnam. That was the way to fight. Get high, listen to music, and have sex with everybody. Does that make sense? I mean, please answer the question. Does that make sense? Is that how you fight against something like that? Where's the debate? Where's intelligent arguments concerning the value of human life and whether a country like the United States should be involved in global conflicts? That's how you fight against these things. Not getting high at a concert, doing nothing for days but laying on your back, getting high, hallucinating, and sleeping with everyone that's available. So, I mean, that's who these people are. And it's almost like they want another resurgence of, that time when they stood up and confronted the man.
Subscribe.
Thanks for watching, liking, and sharing this video. Please subscribe, leave a super thank, and join my membership to keep me doing this. A huge thank you to my supporters listed on the screen. Thank you for your donations and membership.
Thanks for watching.